Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome to all of you who are watching at home. You've just heard Bienvenido Yangco playing Chacon, which was written by Rolf Loveland from A Secret Garden, one of my favorite pieces of music. So, welcome, everybody. We're delighted you're here. I want to introduce our musicians today. They are Terry O'Hara on the piano, Christina Brewer is your soloist, and on platform with me is Steve Potts. He's in training to be a practitioner, and we're so glad he's joining us on platform today. So we're going to start with his doing a meditation and opening prayer, and that will be followed by a congregational song that you all know, "The Spirit of God is upon you, upon me," and if you're at home, sing along with us.
Good morning. I was expecting to have a reading before we did the meditation and prayer. It's it's after the second or the first song, and I was sitting here on the platform thinking about what am I going to meditate on, because I was going to pick that out off of whatever that reading was, and I was sitting there and I was going, just take a deep breath. And the words came through, all that I have is thine, which I think is from the prodigal son parable. And is it? Yeah. And so I want to do a meditation on that. So if we can all just relax and get into a comfortable position, take a deep breath, exhale. Realize that the Spirit is breathed through us, in us, around us, and as us. All that I have is thine. Think of what that means if we really believe that in our truth. Everything that the Spirit is, which is everything, it's all around us. Everything. It's the sanctuary, it's the musicians, it's the music, it's the air, it's the light, it's the sun. It's all of the energy. All that I have is thine. All that God has is thine. All that God has is thine. All that infinite intelligence has is thine. We only have to receive. We only have to accept. How grateful I am that I only need accept the gifts and the bounty that is Spirit, that was given to me from time eternal. It's there for the asking, it's there for the receiving. All that I have is thine. And I know that right here and right now, all there is God. And I know that this infinite intelligence, this self-existing, self-sustaining substance of the universe is manifesting itself right here and right now in me, around me, through me, and as me. And what I know for me, I know for you. I know that it's true for every one of us. I know that where we stand, the sanctuary is holy ground. And I know this morning that the Spirit is moving through Rev.Frances as she delivers her message on receiving. And I know that we will take this into our hearts and minds and become this, be this. And I am so grateful that I know that this is the truth. And I release this word with law and into the law of mind with gratitude and allow it to be the truth of being. And so it is.
Okay, I'm not going to ask everybody to do major calisthenics this week, I promise. But I am going to ask you just this one time to please rise as you are able. And if you feel like dancing, then please dance. If you feel like singing, please sing. And if that means you do your own calisthenics, that's on you. The Spirit of God is upon me. seated.
Principle of prosperity from our textbook, Science of Mind. Excuse me. Principle of prosperity. We are surrounded by a universal subjectivity, a subjective, creative consciousness, which is receptive, neutral, impersonal, always receiving the impress of our thought, and which has no alternative other than to operate directly upon it, thus creating the things which we think. Each one should realize that there is nothing in him that denies that which he desires. Our unity with our good is not established while there is anything in us that denies it. People often say, "How shall I know when I know?" If you knew, you would not ask this question. The very fact that you can ask it proves that you do not know. For when you know, you can prove it by doing. Thought sets definite force in motion in mind relative to the individual who thinks. For instance, I am known in consciousness as Ernest Holmes, for that is my name. And every claim made for me which I accept operates through avenues of mind activity and returns to me as some condition. In practice, always forget the limitations of individuality. Each treatment should embody a recognition of the whole because it's omnipresent.
The song is called Breathe, and it was brought to my attention this week by Rev.Frances. It's a really cool song, but turn your listening ears on because there's a whole lot of words. So it's amazing.
Alarm clock screaming, bare feet hit the floor. It's off to the races, everybody out the door. I'm feeling like I'm falling behind. It's a crazy life. 90 miles an hour, going fast as I can, trying to push a little harder, trying to get the upper hand. So much to do in so little time. It's crazy life. It's ready, set, go. It's another wild day when the stress is on the rise. In my heart I feel you say, just breathe, just breathe. Come and rest at my feet and be, just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to just breathe. Third cup of joe just to make it through the day. Wanna make the most of time, but I feel it slip away. I wonder if there's something more to this crazy life. I'm busy, 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 and it's no surprise to see that they only have time for me, me, me. There's gotta be something more to this crazy life. I'm hanging on tight to another wild day. When it starts to fall apart in my heart, I hear you say, just breathe, just breathe. Come and rest at my feet and just be, just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to take it in, fill your lungs, the peace of God that overcomes. Just breathe. Let your weary spirit rest. Lay down what's good and find what's best. Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. Come and rest at my feet and just be, just be. Chaos
beautiful. They really made it panicky in the melody part. You can really feel that tension. So, are you ready to receive? Yeah. All right. Well, that's our theme this month. And I've done a lot of and this book that this month is based on is the book by Amanda Owen, and it's called The Power of Receiving. And I remember using it. I counseled a woman in the community years ago, and she just couldn't receive anything for herself. And she was just being drained by everything in her life. And I said, "You've got to read this book." It apparently helped her because she never came back. No. Well, so you may say, well, isn't it better to give than receive? We're taught that for as long as I can remember, not to be greedy or selfish. So there's a lot of good authority to say that giving is the way better than receiving. However, at this instant, all over the globe, all of humanity is breathing in oxygen and breathing out carbon dioxide. And so is the rest of the animal kingdom. And right now, at this very instant, all over the globe, billions and billions of organisms of the plant kingdom are doing the exact opposite of us. They're breathing in carbon dioxide and breathing out oxygen. So they're giving and receiving, and our giving is their receiving, and vice versa. So as humans, we often don't live in this balance of giving and receiving. And the truth is, if we're only givers, then we wind up being resentful or frustrated. And sometimes we feel like we're being taken advantage of, or we kind of become the martyr, you know. And if we're only receivers, we become stagnant and bloated. In order for there to be giving, there has to be receiving. So Amanda Owens, in this book, The Power of Receiving, she says life is inherently giving, and if barriers to receiving were removed, like when a floodgate is lowered, life's givingness would rush in. That's pretty powerful. So if we're not receiving to the degree we would like, ask yourself, am I a good receiver? How can I be a better receiver? Start affirming that you're a good receiver right now and start knowing this for yourself. And co-create the experience of being a good receiver right now. So this month, as we explore this theme of receiving, we are exploring two sides of the same coin. And just like this coin, you can't have one side without the other. But many of us don't think that. We think that they're two separate things, giving and receiving. One side is this way and the other side is this way. But I'm talking about that coin being called giving and receiving. We've all been taught it's better to give than receive, or God loves a cheerful giver. Einstein once said, the value of a man lies in what he gives, not in what he's capable of receiving. And Calvin Coolidge said, no person was ever honored for what he received, he was honored for what he gave. So we're taught that not to be greedy or selfish. But if we're only givers, we do it begins to cause wear and tear on us. A 19th century German poet named Goethe, Johann Wolfgang Goethe, put it this way when he said, human life runs its course in the metamorphosis between giving and receiving. So in Words That Heal Today, Ernest Holmes put it this way, the great lesson is that life delivers itself into our capacity to receive it. And I always remembered that. He would say, you have to have the container, you know, if you're going to go with a little thimble to the pool of water, you're only going to get a thimble full of water. So you have to make your container big enough to receive your blessing. There's the story of the Zen master who was approached by a student seeking enlightenment, and you've probably heard this story a million times, but he knocked on the door, and the master let him in and said, would you like some tea? And they sat down at the table. And he said, so what are you seeking? And he said, oh, well, I'm seeking enlightenment, but I've been doing all this stuff. I've gone to all these retreat workshops. I've gone to Thich Nhat Hanh's meditation center in Southern California. I've even gone to France, to Plum Village. I'm doing everything I can to expand my consciousness, and it seems to be working, but I'm here to ask you how you do it. And the Zen master began to pour the tea, and he poured and poured and poured until the cup overflowed. And the young man said, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're spilling tea all over the table. And the master said, well, the cup has to be empty to receive. To receive the wisdom, that is. So we're going to set the tone by receiving an interesting perspective. And it comes from the book Kabbalistic Astrology, The Meaning of Our Lives. This by Ray Berg. He's a Jewish scholar. So although the story uses different language than we do, the gist of what he's saying is pretty much in line with our thinking, which is kind of cool. Berg writes that before there was anything, there was only the light. And there was nothing but the light, and the light had just one urge, and that was to give and share of itself. And that begs the question, doesn't it? If there's nothing but the light, then whom will the light give to share? Obviously, that wouldn't do, so something had to be done. It couldn't just exist all by itself. So the light created a vessel to receive everything it had to offer. And receiving was the vessel's only job. That's all it was supposed to do, and that's all it did. So the nature of light was to share fully and completely, and the nature of the vessel was to receive everything that the light had to offer. Now, Berg writes that the Kabbalah teaches that the light is the first cause and the vessel is the first effect. So, truth students, doesn't that sound familiar? The vessel was filling up with light, and because time and space hadn't begun yet, the vessel was filling endlessly. And so the light kept giving and the vessel kept receiving. It was perfect. In fact, it was paradise. But let's pause for a moment in the story of creation to emphasize something, because this is where it gets a little interesting. What was the nature of the light? What was the only thing the light wanted to do? Well, it wanted to share itself fully with the vessel, and that's what it did. Therefore, the vessel received not only the light from the source of light, but the vessel received from the light the desire to share of itself as well. And this desire was to share felt good. Very good to the vessel. In fact, the vessel wanted to start doing some sharing of its own, to shed some light of its own, so to speak. But how could the vessel express the desire to share if its whole nature was just receiving? So sharing wasn't part of its job. So the vessel made a decision, and it was a really important one. As part of its desire to express what it was, the vessel pushed back the light and said, "No more. I don't want to receive it anymore." And the moment the vessel pushed back the light and stopped being simply the receiver, the light said, "Okay, I understand your need to evolve and express yourself." And just like a loving parent who stands back to allow a toddler take his first awkward steps, the light withdrew. It gave the vessel space to learn about sharing and an opportunity to become a creative force in the creation process. So the ancient Kabbalists called the vessel's act of pushing back the light, that was called the restriction. And science has another name for it. It's called the Big Bang. So according to the Kabbalah, once the restriction or the Big Bang took place, the vessel exploded into zillions and zillions of pieces. I think last week during our Rosh Hashanah service, I said, Tikkun Olam means trying to put the world back together, put all the pieces back together. So the pieces of this shattered vessel became all the fragments of matter and energy that make up our entire universe, from atoms to planets and everything. So everything in the universe is a portion of the original vessel, which was made by the light and out of the light. Berg writes, Kabbalistically, the desire to receive is the secret engine. It's the secret engine that drives everything in the universe. And in fact, it's indispensable to the world's functioning. It's when the simple desire to receive is changed into the desire to receive in order to share that we most become like the light, and we become the cause of our own fulfillment. So according to the wisdom of the Kabbalah, the unifying link between the spiritual and the physical worlds, the world above and the world below, is the desire to receive the light of the Creator, and humankind is the highest embodiment of that desire. So that's a fantastic creation story, isn't it? So much better than Adam and Eve. We got stuck with that story. I don't know how we got stuck with it. But nothing is more naturally geared towards being receptive than a baby. You all know that, especially if you're a grandma. And the secret of staying young and vibrant and vital throughout life is to hang on to those precious characteristics we have as children, but which get drummed out of us, like having a big dream or being curious, believing in yourself. And one of those characteristics is being open to receiving, being hungry to receive, being ravenous to receive. In fact, all those things just mentioned, having big dreams and being curious and believing in ourselves, those are all aspects of being receptive. And they're all the same thing as being receptive, being open to receive everything. So Amanda Owens, in her book, Power of Receiving, writes, life is inherently giving. And if the barriers to receiving were removed, then this floodgate would be lowered, and all this life-givingness would rush in. So are you ready to receive? Yes. The receivership quality can be tested in a very human way. Suppose someone gives you a gift or something special. Do you accept it graciously, or do you protest? Oh, not this, I can't accept that. Or that you shouldn't do it. So do you hasten to repay it? Those are indicators you could be more open to receiving. So I want you to find somebody to turn to and give a compliment to them real quick. See if you can find somebody. Just give them a compliment. Steve, you can come give Carol. Oh, you've got one? You've got one to give a compliment to? Okay. Caroline? Yeah. Okay. All right. So how was that? Did you have difficulty receiving the compliment, or were you happy to get it? Happy to get it. Okay. All right. So Erik Butterworth, who's a great prosperity teacher, said it's our inability to be a gracious receiver that indicates a spiritual problem. So I take it you all were good receivers, right? You like the compliments? Yeah. So sometimes the problem of life is, why can't I get ahead, or why do I get these troubles? And so if I were to refuse to accept the gift, or even accept it grudgingly, with an attempt to immediately reciprocate, I really cut off my good, and I cut off others' good too. So today we're ready to receive. So Ernest Holmes said, the infinite can only give to us what we can take. I always remembered that, because I met this man in class and he said, I always just said I want enough money to pay my bills. He was probably in his late 70s. And he said, do you know, that's exactly what I got, just enough money to pay my bills, because he wasn't willing to receive more. So ask yourself, am I a good receiver? Am I a good receiver? How could I be a better receiver? And start affirming that. And I want you to say with me, I'm a good receiver. I receive all the good in life. God's will for me is all good. Life is good all the time. And I receive it all the time. And so it is, I let it be, and amen, brothers and sisters. God bless you. All right, we're going to have a new song, right? Yeah.
You made me think of my son and that curious, inquisitive nature and consistently being ready to receive. This week he posed existential questions to me. As in, where did the humans come from if they didn't exist when the dinosaurs were there? And where did God come from? If God was before this whole thing, where did he come from? And how does this all work? And I'm like, okay, all right. He's ready. All right.
Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest. Lay your head down on my shoulder. Be still, my child. Rest a while, and I'll quiet you with my love. Rejoice over you with my song, and I'll quiet you with my love. Rejoice over you with my song. Come to me, all who are weary, and take my yoke upon you. Come to me, all who are weary. My burden is easy and light. Lay your head down on my shoulder. Be still, my child. Rest a while, and I'll quiet you with my love. Rejoice over you with my song, and I'll quiet you with my love. Rejoice over you with my song. song, and I'll quiet you with my love, rejoice over you with my song, with my song, and I'll quiet you with my love, rejoice over you with my song, and I'll quiet you with my love.
All right, so it's time for our offering, and we like to say the blessing in your program. It's divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is. So we have, you're going to come up and do something. you just heard Beyond, that was written by William Joseph and David Foster, arranged by Dimitri Varelas. So at this time, we're going to have a healing prayer from Stephen.
How grateful I am to receive these words, that we are able to receive the blessings of the universe. And I know that this is true for you as it is for me and everyone here. I know that as we leave this week and carry this message with us, will we become not only givers, but better receivers. And I bless this service and know that it is the truth. It is the word. It is reality. And so it is.
So we have a few announcements, and I was, where's Bev? Oh, she's back there. Okay, my announcer is back there. Well, we'll do some announcements. One, we're starting our pledge program, and so be watchful of the mail, right? Coming up, it's for 2023, and we urge you to participate and continue on supporting this beautiful center. I am going to be doing a workshop. It's free. It's going to be on October 22nd. I call it my swan song workshop. No, I'm just kidding. But it's called Creative Mind, Mysticism, and Success. So it uses a lot of our principles and with a little touch of mysticism in there. So it's Saturday, October 22nd from 9 to 4, and we'll have something up on the website where you can sign up, because I need to know, because you'll get quite a substantial packet of materials with it. Bev was going to come up and talk about my party. So here she is, Bev Holland.
Good morning. So I'm pretty sure that everybody that is here today knows that we're having a party next week. But I wanted to let everybody know, because I don't know all the people that are watching online. But as we all know, Rev.Frances is retiring after 25 years of being here. It's just still hard to believe. And she claims that she knows nothing about this party, so I'm not going to say too much other than it will be from 2 to 4 p.m. at the South Tacoma, Asia Pacific Cultural Center on South Tacoma Way. And that's next Saturday, the 8th. And I believe Christina is singing, and there's some other lots of things going on, and it'll be a lot of fun. So thank you all, those of you who are participating in any way. We appreciate that as well. And we'll see you next Saturday.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything else I need to announce. I think that's it. So watch your mail for our pledge program. And Christine's going to invite you to, can they sing in this song? No, this is a powerful song by Sandy Patty, and it's called Pour on the Power. So we want you to think about it as pour on the power to receive, right?
Looking up from the bottom seems like a long way to go. The mountain's oh so steep, climbing is oh so slow. Your body aches, you're out of breath, you're ready to give in. But don't give up, you've got the strength to make it to the end.
You can pour on the power and pull that mountain down. You can pour on the power and claim your higher ground. You may think you're at a wall, but it's just a door, that's all. 'Cause you ain't seen nothing until you pour on the You don't have to be weary, there's power moving in you. And if you just call upon it, your strength's gonna be renewed. There's no need to turn around, there's no need to stop. Stand up straight, look ahead, and march on to the top. You can pour on the power and pull that mountain down. You can pour on the power and claim your higher ground. You may think you're at a wall, but it's just a door, that's all. 'Cause you ain't seen nothing until you pour on the power. When it's hard to keep your feet on the road and you need some help to carry the load, just call upon the Spirit and you will receive courage and strength that you need to believe. You can pour on the power and pull that mountain down. You can pour on the power and claim your higher ground. You may think you're at a wall, but it's just a door, that's all. 'Cause you ain't seen nothing, no you ain't seen nothing, no you ain't seen nothing until you pour on the power.
Well, thank you for being here this morning. There's coffee in the back. Stay and socialize with us. And is that Carl? Good to have you, Carl. Thanks for coming inside. All right. Okay. All right. So have some coffee.